Hey folks, Carla Sands here, putting in a plug for Gene Valentino's Grassroots Truthcast.
Relationships matter because people buy people, and that's why I buy Eddie Zarin Insurance of the Zarin Insurance Agency in Pensacola, Florida. A family-owned business with over 50 years in the business, and they treat people the right way. From homeowners insurance to contractors insurance, condo insurance, commercial insurance, all the different coverages that are out there, and of course auto insurance, they've got you covered. They worry about you first. You're more than a policy number. You're a person who they're watching out for, not when the sun is shining, but after the hurricane has left. If you want real service with real savings, contact Eddie Zarin at the Eddie Zarin Insurance Agency. www.zarininsurance.com. Give them a call today. You'll be glad you did when you do.
We are about to find out because we have the Velvet Hammer with us this morning, Gene Valentino, live from Pensacola, Florida. Good morning, Gene. How's the weather?
Good morning, guys. 66 degrees, sunny. Looking like we may see a dip of some coldness coming through, but good weather's underway. The sprinkler system's working outside. We're getting things, nutrition getting back into the plants as we get our greenhouse and our garden going again. And we're looking forward to a good spring and summer.
All right. So thank you for joining us. We appreciate you doing this each Friday, and we'd love to hear what you have to say. You and I were talking before the show, and one of the things that ticks us off as Catholics is how the Pope has taken a position in politics, which is something that, frankly, from the as far as the church is concerned, he can do whatever he wants to, but Catholics do not have to necessarily follow what he has to say. And there's a term called ex cathedra. And if you haven't ever heard of that, well, let me just explain it to you for a second. Ex cathedra is Latin from the chair. That's what it means. It's a technical term in Catholic theology referring to the infallible teaching authority of the Pope. Now, here's the key to this. For it to be an infallible teaching, the Pope must speak as supreme pastor and teacher of all Christians. He must intend to define a doctrine. I mean, he's got to use clear, definitive language. The doctrine must concern faith or morals, not discipline, not science, not politics, etc., etc. Two things, faith or morals. So when the Pope steps out and starts criticizing the President of the United States, we don't have to pay any attention to him as Catholics. That's just the way it is. And so a lot of Catholics don't even know that. So I just wanted to bring that out this morning because that is a church teaching.
This is one of the most sensitive things that we talk about when it comes to religion that bothers me the most and describes most accurately why I don't consider myself a Catholic anymore. I'm a very faithful Christian, but I'm not a Catholic. It's when Catholicism overreaches and tries to impose man-made rules or doctrines that supersede what I would call the apostolic, the original Christian-based, Bible-based teachings. Billy Graham talks about that. I listened to Sean Hannity last night on Fox talk about it. And he went on talking about the fact that he was born and raised a Catholic, came from a standard Catholic family. He too was an altar boy in the church sessions, and so was I. And went to Catholic school for about 4 or 5 years. I actually couldn't take it anymore, so I went into the public school system, which at the time was considered a good move. The public school systems in the 60s and 70s was a pretty good thing. And I got to tell you, the authority that they extend was so imposing in my upbringing that I felt the need to walk away from it. And right now, it hit a sore spot with me when the Pope, who has a little bit of a smug attitude towards the United States anyway, and ends up taking on Donald Trump on this issue. You know, if he is a faith leader and he is discussing faith and morals and defining that within church doctrine, that's one thing. But he does not control federal doctrine or the doctrine of government, which is the Constitution of the United States and all of the leaders within, notwithstanding the faults of the individuals, which we talk about every day and pick on every day, and there's plenty to pick on. These shortcomings, Michael, do not allow us to then impose a standard on faith, regardless of the sect it is. We're talking Catholicism today. It could be Episcopalian, Methodist, and any of the other Protestant faiths. It could be the It could be the Jewish faith. It could be the Muslim Jihad Islamic factors. We talk about all of them, but we talk about them as an imposing cult, if you will, that tries to extend its doctrines into governance. And that's the mess we're in the Middle East right now. There is no small coincidence that the Pope got off on a tangent to think that he was going to interfere with the president's authority that was given to him by 70 plus million Americans here in the United States. I'm faithful. I go to worship services every Sunday, but I'm not going to allow the leaders in those buildings to interfere, other than their right to vote, to interfere with what is considered governance through a constitution, which, by the way, we are the only one that has God in it. So I don't make light of God or the authority vested in God that was given to us in our Constitution. I don't make light of that. But when they say a separation of church and state, this is what they're talking about, not anything else that you've heard criticism of.
You know, what's interesting about this is the truth is the Pope is a man, and the man that the Pope is from Chicago, and he is a liberal man. And let me tell you something. I don't have to listen to what he's got to say when it comes down to his liberalism. Now, if he wants to talk about morals and church values and stuff like that, that's fine. But I don't think we have to listen to him. And I think a lot of Catholics out there need to understand that there is church teachings that tell you that when he delves off into politics, well, he's just a man.
He also has a brother who's an American and strongly supports the MAGA movement and was a supporter of Donald Trump. This is what happens with power. The frailties of the human condition occur when you have people taking positions of authority and control, whether it's apostolic authority in the church setting or elected authority in the government setting. What happens with many is that they develop an overstated sense of self-worth. They think there's something that they now are entitled to extend authority and control and impose their will on you. Now, Donald Trump certainly has a strong personality, but he leaves room for you and I to have our strong personality and our opinion. While we have a choice, we either buy into his strength of character or we rebel from it. And what I see trickling over into the religious side of this conversation is a pope who resists the authority vested in Donald Trump. Donald Trump's worrying about the United States of America. Pope Leo, I guess it is worried about the morals and faith issues around the world, and somehow he considers himself of a grander standard. What he fails to realize is that preventing wars is exactly what Donald Trump is doing, whether he understands it or not. Acquiescing, sitting around in the circles, kumbaya, and praying together. You say that to an Islamic jihadist. See if you end up at the end of the conversation with your hands or even your life.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Let's switch gears for a minute. The United States Congress worked overnight last night, and they extended the authority of this. What is it? It's to be able to spy on folks that are not from this country, that are maybe having communications across the planet.
Yeah, the FISA.
FISA. And so I just wanted to get your take on that and what you think about FISA and what should we do about FISA? It looks like there's some second thoughts in Congress about FISA.
Well, it's because of bad behavior. FISA's intention was good. It's called FISA, Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, and it governs how the U.S. conducts electronic surveillance for national security purposes, especially involving foreign threats. But the problem has been is that where foreign threats involve the potential of American citizens or elected citizens is where we've gotten into trouble, and they've applied the overreach of surveillance upon elected officials in the United States under the FISA Surveillance Act. It was designed to balance security and civil liberties, but I got to tell you, there's a flashpoint in the act under section, I think it's 702, which allows unrestricted, warrantless surveillance of non-U.S. citizens located abroad, but it can be incidentally collect American communications. In the process of going after that foreigner, you may be picking up data on Americans, and that's where it's gotten into trouble. Now, do we keep it because we've got serious national security issues at hand in and around the Ukraine-Russia relationship, in and around Iran and Israel, and so forth? Do we keep it in place because we have garnered good information which has positively impacted our ability to put up the right kind of defenses and assaults against these enemies in a timely way? Or do we quash the whole concept because of the abuse by a certain select few that have used it for political purposes to promote and protect the political campaign or political policies of one political party? That's what's happened in the last 6 to 8 years, and I hope indictments come from it. That's why the congressmen are a little skittish today and saying, well, hold on now. Before I go renewing this FISA Act, you better make sure you're not abusing it like you did on Donald Trump in the past. And that's why you see some Republicans stepping up and saying, I'm not going forward with renewing FISA unless you ensure that the kind of illegal surveillance you did on Donald Trump and the rest of the crew around him does not happen again. That's the issue.
You know, it's interesting. We're out of time, but it only really works, Gene, if you have good and honest men that are using it.
Yeah. And a good and honest pope conveying moral and ethical standards. You know, we all are victims of one human factor. It's called the human condition, and our frailties can work for us and in many cases evidence themselves and work against us. What a what a challenge we take to find that balance in society, especially
All right.
with all
We
the
gotta
varying
go. Hey,
governances.
thank you.
Take
Thank you
care,
so much for
buddy.
joining us. See you next week.
Best to you now. Relationships matter because people buy people, and that's why I buy Eddie Zarin Insurance of the Zarin Insurance Agency in Pensacola, Florida. A family-owned business with over 50 years in the business, and they treat people the right way. From homeowners insurance to contractors insurance, condo insurance, commercial insurance, all the different coverages that are out there, and of course auto insurance. They've got you covered. They worry about you first. You're more than a policy number. You're a person who they're watching out for, not when the sun is shining, but after the hurricane has left. If you want real service with real savings, contact Eddie Zarin at the Eddie Zarin Insurance Agency. www.zarininsurance.com. Give them a call today. You'll be glad you did when you do.